What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 37 of the Downtown Browntown podcast. I'm your host, Downtown Brown. Today, we're going to discuss the disappointing Bucks loss, game one against the Atlanta Hawks last night, 116 to 113. Bucks fall to the Hawks. We're going to discuss all the key aspects of the game and some adjustments that need to be made for game two. Before we get into that, just want to remind everybody to please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. Twitter, I'm at downtown_Brown. Instagram, I'm at downtown_Brown33, all lowercase for both of those handles. All right, so let's get right into it. Bucks lose in disappointing fashion to the Atlanta Hawks, 116 to 113. Definitely a gettable game for the Bucks. Is a game that they were up 7 points with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then were outscored 18-8 by the Atlanta Hawks in 4 minutes to close that game. I mean, that's just tough. Bucks got to close that one out. Obviously, we didn't shoot well. Bucks shoot 8 for 32 from three, which is a whole whopping 22%, 46% from the field for the Bucks in this game. Hawks really didn't shoot that much better, though. 49.5% from the field for the Hawks and 25% from three. Bucks were 8 for 36. Hawks were 8 for 32 from three. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying, like, if the Bucks just shoot a little bit better, they win that game, which is obviously true, but the Hawks could shoot a lot better as well. I mean, that's something for me that, it's obviously not an adjustment, but it's something that we're going to need going forward for the Bucks to be able to win this series. But, you got to expect the Hawks to shoot better as well. I mean, obviously from a Bucks perspective, Chris Middleton in this game, 0 for 9 from three, 6 for 23 from the field for Chris, 15 points in 41 minutes. That's just not going to get it done. It's just crazy how Chris Middleton can just be so good and then so bad, just like in the blink of an eye, game to game. It's like, I just feel like I've never seen, I've seen it a little bit, but it's very rare to see like a star caliber player like Chris Middleton just be so good and then just so bad. You just never know when those good and bad games are coming, and it's just tough. Obviously that was a big reason why the Bucks lost the game. I mean, Chris couldn't get anything going offensively, especially in the fourth quarter. A lot of shots were being funneled Chris Middleton's way when Jrue Holiday was clearly the one that was doing really well on offense and shooting a lot better from the field was Jrue Holiday versus Chris Middleton. We finally saw the offensive juggernaut game from Jrue Holiday, 33 points for Jrue in 42 minutes. He goes 14 for 25 from the field, which is excellent. 5 for 12 from three, 40%, also excellent. 4 boards, 10 assists, 2 steals, and a block for Jrue. Couldn't ask much more from him in the game. Maybe a little bit defensively. We'll get to that side a little bit later. But obviously we finally saw that breakout game from Jrue Holiday from an offensive perspective, and it was great to see. He was getting to the paint at will, being able to score in there very easily, and that's something that we need to see from Jrue Holiday going forward in the rest of the series. He can get to the paint and get to his spots and finish some easy layups like we saw in game one. If Trae Young ever gets matched up on him, he was guarding PJ Tucker a lot of the time when he was out there. If PJ was out, Trae Young would be on Pat Connaughton just so that Trae isn't being super worked on the defensive end. But they got Trae switched on to Jrue a couple times, and almost every single time he was able to get to the basket and put up an easy shot and ultimately get some points for the Bucks. So I love what you saw from Jrue Holiday there from an offensive perspective. Giannis, he played well. 34 minutes for Giannis in 41 minutes, 14 for 25 from the field as well, same as Jrue Holiday. That's good for Giannis, but he's a little bit better than that, but not going to complain there. 0 for 2 from three, 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 75% is fantastic for Giannis. Hope to see that continue. He definitely looks to see like he has more of a rhythm in terms of his free throw routine, and he's knocking them down a lot more consistently. It's 7 in a row in game 7 against the Nets to finish. I think it was 7 for 11 after he started. like 1 for 4 or something like that. 12 boards, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks for Giannis. I mean, he played well. He showed up. He came to play in this game, and that's all you can ask for him. I mean, Giannis definitely missed some makeable shots in the paint that he usually knocks down. A couple floaters, hook shots. There was just a few times where he definitely should have came out with a basket and he just wasn't able to get it done. But you know what? From an offensive perspective, can't ask much more from Giannis, putting up 34 points in 41 minutes. I mean, other than that, though, Bucks don't get much offensively from the rest of the roster. I mean, you look at the rest of the starting lineup, PJ Tucker, 35 minutes, only 4 points, 2 of 3 from the field, didn't attempt a three-pointer in the game. Brook Lopez, 7 points in 20 minutes. We'll get to that, the minutes spread for Brook Lopez here in a little bit, but 20 minutes, 7 points for Brook, 3 for 7 from the field, hits one of his 4 3-pointers, only 2 boards and a block for Brook. It's going to be tough for Brook Lopez in the series. Defensively, he might be getting played off the floor. I'm going to get to the defensive side a little bit, but obviously 20 minutes for Brook is a lot lower than we're used to seeing. He played extremely well in the Nets series, especially down the stretch of that series and in Game 7, coming up with huge defensive plays on Kevin Durant and really just allowing the Bucks to out-rebound the Nets as well. So Brook Lopez, great player, but some adjustments are going to have to be made with him, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But offensively for Brook, didn't really provide much. Obviously, less minutes was a factor of that a little bit, and he only put up 7 shots, but still, you'd like to see a little bit more offensively from Brook. Looking at the bench now, Bobby Portis had a big spark in the game, 7 quick points in the first quarter when he came in, finishes with 11 points in the game, 15 minutes for Bobby, 5 for 8 from the field, hits one of his 2 3-pointers, 8 boards and an assist. Obviously, he came in with a lot of energy and was able to score the ball and pick up some rebounds like we've seen him do all regular season. It was nice to see Bobby get some minutes again early on in the game. I figured that Bobby Portis would play a role in the series. I wasn't mad that Coach Bud didn't play him in games 5 through 7 against the Nets. It just matchup-wise, it didn't make sense. And really, the reason I think Bud did that is because he just didn't want Bobby Portis to get matched up on Kevin Durant because he just get cooked every single time. It's also another reason why Bryn Forbes didn't play much in that series. It's really just because of Kevin Durant, how lethal he is on the offensive end and just trying to limit his scoring ability just a little bit by having PJ Tucker in there more, and obviously the big three and Giannis, Chris, and Drew able to take their turns at Kevin Durant. So for me, that's the main reason I think Bobby Portis didn't play in the series, and I'm fine with it. It obviously worked out, but against this Hawks team, he matches up pretty well with them, especially Danilo Gallinari off the bench. A slower big guy who's not really going to attack and just shoot a lot of fadeaway jump shots. That's pretty much his offensive game. So Bobby Portis should definitely play a role in this series. But we'll get to the roster breakdown in a little, or the rotation breakdown in a little bit. But really nice to see Bobby have an offensive breakdown or offensive, have a good offensive spark off the bench and really give this team some energy and be able to score some points. Other than that, though, didn't get much from the rest of the bench. Bryn Forbes, 5 points in 12 minutes. Pat, 4 points in 29 minutes. 1 for 6 from the field for Pat. Misses all 4 of his 3-pointers. 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Obviously, Pat misses the big 3-pointer late in the game. I thought that he rushed that one. It was a little bit deep of a 3. He had PJ Tucker wide open in the corner, and he decided to take that 3 when that's PJ's shot. Only down 1 in the game at that point in time as well. So just didn't make a lot of sense for me. Didn't love the shot by Pat at all. But again, it's just a tough offensive performance for Pat Connaughton. He's played really well in the playoffs, especially in that Nets series and in Game 7 specifically. So not going to give up on Pat at all. He still needs to get minutes, especially with Dante out. Dante's really missed in this series, a playable guard who can defend multiple positions, really active on the rebounding game as well. Those are all things that we really need from a guard right now. And Pat Connaughton has a lot of those skills. So he's still going to have to play a lot of minutes in the series, and he's got to step up and knock down shots for this Bucks team. So I expect Pat to play a lot better in game 2 and going forward. So really offensively for me, I thought the Bucks came out really well and moved the ball around well. Giannis was great from a playmaking perspective all game. He was making great decisions, knowing when to drive, when he drove, knowing when to dish it out to open guys or get his own opportunity at the basket. I thought Giannis's decision making was just flawless in this game, and that's all. I mean, that's what you want to see from Giannis, is making the right plays, knowing when to attack, and knowing when to dish when he's getting stood up by other guys. So absolutely love what I saw from Giannis there from an offensive playmaking perspective. And I think that he's going to be able to do that the rest of the series. They don't have a lot of guys to match up with Giannis defensively. I mean, Clint Capella is their best option. And although he was able to stand up Giannis a few times, Giannis is still able to get his on Clint Capella a majority of the time, and I expect him to be able to continue that going forward. I mean, guys like John Collins, he can't guard Giannis at all. Gallinari can't guard Giannis. I mean, other than that, they've what's his name? Solomon Hill. He's a decent defender, but he cannot stay with Giannis at all. So I like Giannis's chances a lot in this series to dominate in the paint and really just run this offense and know when to pass the ball, make plays for other guys. So again, I loved what I saw from Giannis from a playmaking perspective, and he really was able to let the offense flow. But other than that, I thought that we should have gave more shots to Jrue Holiday, to be honest with you, especially when Chris Middleton was really struggling. I mentioned that earlier. In the fourth quarter, I get that Bud wants to kind of get Chris going a little bit, but it just wasn't happening. When you've got a guy like Jrue Holiday who's shooting the ball well, you got to give him more opportunities. And yeah, he did shoot 25 shots, but he could have taken more, especially late in that fourth quarter. So didn't love that from a game plan perspective from Coach Bud. I think we need to get Jrue Holiday involved more when he's putting up that many points and being able to get to the rim like he was. Chris Middleton was settling for a lot of mid-range shots, 3-pointers, contested at that, and they just weren't falling for him. We've seen him knock down these shots before. Game 6 in Milwaukee, he put up 38 points, career high, dominant performance from Chris Middleton offensively, but he just doesn't have it every single game, and we've got to realize that and go to the guys who actually are really like making shots. So for me, I thought that was a mistake by the Bucks and was one of the reasons why they lost this game. But other than that, defensively, I still think we were complacent at times. Bucks just settling for jump shots, 3-pointers, when I think that they can get to the paint at will against this Atlanta Hawks team. We have a huge size advantage, and a lot of our guys are just really strong attacking the basket. Jrue Holiday, Giannis. I mean, they've got to get to the paint just consistently, and that's where we need to do our damage offensively. I just thought we settled for threes a little too much. Were some of them open? Sure, they were open. Bucks just weren't knocking them down, but you know what? When they're not falling, sometimes you just got to try and attack the basket a little bit more. And for me, I think that we need to see that going forward in this series. I was really impressed with the Bucks' ability to get to the paint, but just don't settle for the threes all the time, and just try and get an efficient shot every single time. So for me, that's one thing I like to see from the Bucks going forward in this game, or in the series. Sorry about that. Is just attacking the basket a lot more, not getting complacent, and trying to play isolation hero ball, just settling for bad shots, or even just taking like early shot clock threes or deep threes like Pat Connaughton was doing. Like, we can get better shots than that. Just move the ball around a little bit more and let the offense do its work. And I think the Bucks will have a lot better a production on the offensive end. So for me, that's one thing I like to see going forward in this series. That's really all I've got offensively. I don't think that, I mean, the offense was a big reason why we lost the game, and we just couldn't get baskets consistently enough in this game. We had the opportunities to do so. At the end of the day, shots just weren't falling a lot of the time as well. But you know what? The offense just needs to step it up, and I think that they can do that. This Atlanta Hawks team cannot defend this Bucks team, and I think that we're going to come out firing in game 2. Hopefully shots are falling a little bit more, and the Bucks just got to be aggressive and get to their spots a little bit more often in the rest of the series, and I think they're going to do that. Let's talk about the defensive end a little bit. Obviously, the Bucks struggled mightily with Trae Young in this game. He finishes with 48 points on 17 for 34 from the field, so that's 50%. 4 for 13 from 3, hits 10 of his 12 free throws. 7 boards, 11 assists, and 1 steal for Trae Young in 41 minutes. I mean, he dominated this game from start to finish. And it was giving the Bucks a lot of problems. Obviously, the high pick and roll with Clint Capella and Trae Young gave us fits throughout the whole entire game. Obviously, the Bucks in their drop coverage defense, they were, Brook Lopez was just sagging in the paint, and Trae Young would have that floater and right around the free throw line every single time, and he was knocking them down early on. Bucks didn't adjust really till midway through the third quarter when they decided to play Giannis more at the center in this game. And obviously when Giannis was playing center, they were switching 1 through 5, and they did a really good job at it. I thought the Bucks defended the Hawks pretty well in the fourth quarter specifically. Jrue Holiday also needs to be more aggressive on the offensive or defensive end. I thought in the first 3 quarters he wasn't getting in Trae Young's grill enough and just trying to make things a little more difficult for him. I think he was just giving him a little too much space, and it obviously it hurt the Bucks. So we saw in the fourth quarter that Jrue Holiday was pressing Trae Young, getting on him full court, defending him, and just making his life a little more difficult. And he was able to get some steals, force some turnovers, and get some transition buckets for the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's a big thing for this team, is we need to just pester Trae Young a little bit more, make things a lot harder on him. That was one of my keys to the victory for the Bucks in game 1, is to make things difficult on Trae Young like they did for Kevin Durant. And I just don't think they did that early enough in this game. It took them too long to adjust to how Trae Young was playing, and it was ultimately too little too late, and the Bucks just couldn't get it done. Even though they still should have won that game late in the fourth quarter, they should have made these adjustments earlier on, so the game didn't even get to this point, and we should have won easily at that point. But anyways, obviously the pick and roll with Trae Young, mainly with Clint Capella, is a big issue for this Bucks team. They've got to figure out how to win Brook Lopez's minutes. Brook's plus and minus for the game was minus 14. So that means that when Brook Lopez was out in the court, the Bucks lost those minutes by 14 points. And it showed. Brook was just sagging off in the paint, giving him that floater at will, and he was knocking him down. And we can't do that. If Brook Lopez is going to play in this series, he's got to get up on that pick and roll a little bit more and force Trae Young to make a different play. Now, obviously, the play that he's going to make in that situation is lob it to Capella for a dunk, an alley-oop, and he did that quite a bit in this game. Capella finished with a pretty nice stat line from his perspective: 12 points, 6 for 9 from the field in 38 minutes, 19 rebounds and 2 assists for Clint Capella, 1 steal and 1 block as well. I mean, we'll get to the rebounding a little later, but Clint Capella he's a weapon in terms of that pick and roll alley-oop. We obviously saw James Harden and Clint Capella do that a lot when they were in Houston a few years ago. But obviously Trae Young has replicated that and done that same thing. And that's a worry. It's like, okay, if Brook Lopez steps up on that pick and roll more, they're going to have that alley-oop for Clint Capella pretty much all the time. And Trae Young's a great passer, and he's going to be able to get it to a spot so he can dunk it. So, the Bucks got to figure something out. I think one adjustment that they need to make is have Giannis guard Clint Capella and Brook Lopez guard John Collins. I think that would make a lot more sense, because if Clint Capella is going to be that main screener for Trae Young, then you've got Giannis going up on that pick and roll, and he can switch onto Trae Young, and Jrue Holiday can switch onto Capella. I know that's not ideal, but still, Jrue should be able to harass Capella a little bit more, and at least make it more difficult for Trae Young to put up that alley-oop. And not only that, Giannis would be defending Trae Young. So for Trae to get an alley-oop pass over Giannis, it's going to be a lot more difficult. It's going to make things harder for Trae Young, which is what we need to do to win this series. Not just when he's shooting the ball, but also creating opportunities for his teammates. So I think that's an adjustment that the Bucks should make that really could make a difference, is that Brook Lopez guard John Collins and Giannis guard Capella. So when they run that screen and roll with Capella and Trae Young, Giannis can switch on to Trae, and instead of Brook Lopez sagging in the paint and giving him that floater, because he got his confidence up early on in that game, was knocking down that shot, and Trae Young was just toying with us at that point in time, and it ultimately killed the Bucks. So I don't expect them to make that adjustment. I never expect Coach Bud to make adjustments, because just don't fucking understand the guy sometimes. But anyways, the Bucks should make this adjustment, because I think it would help Now, from the other side of that adjustment is Lopez on John Collins. Now, people would probably think, oh, well, Collins is going to be able to expose Lopez defensively. That's somewhat true. Collins is a lot quicker than Lopez, but I still think that Brook can hang with him and make things more difficult on him, and just not have Collins cook us. I don't think that's going to happen if Lopez is on him. So you got to see how it works. If Lopez is able to hang with Collins, then great. We can still play Brook more in this series. But if Lopez is getting cooked by Collins, then you know what? He's going to have to play less minutes, and we're going to have to get other guys to step up and play valuable minutes for this team. Like I said, really missing Dante in this series, but they're going to have to figure something out with Brook Lopez because that's a huge problem for this Bucks team. So I hope to see them make that adjustment. Other things defensively, again, just staying tighter on Trae Young. And for me, I would rather have him shoot those deep 3-pointers than the floaters because he was 4 for 13 from 3 in this game. Obviously, he hit some deep ones, and that stupid one where he shimmied on us, that pissed me off. But you know what? 4 for 13 from 3. Let Trae Young shoot more 3-pointers. Don't let him get into the paint as much because that's when he does his damage. So for me, you got to give Got to give Trae Young more opportunities to shoot threes, get on him more so he's not attacking the paint. And for me, that's the thing that would make the most sense on Trae Young. He's obviously the guy that we need to marginalize in the series for the Bucks to have a chance to win the series because game 1 did not go well in terms of marginalizing Trae Young's offensive skill sets. So that's the key thing for the Bucks. Jrue Holiday's got to guard him pretty much at all times. When he's in the game, Jrue needs to be on Trae Young at all times. They were running some double pick and rolls to try to get other guys onto Trae Young. PJ Tucker would be on him at times. I'm fine with PJ guarding him. He's not as quick as Trae Young, obviously, but he can still make things difficult for him. We saw Giannis on Trae Young a few times. Bud made that adjustment sometime in the second half, and it worked pretty well. But I just don't think we're going to be able to sustain that, especially if Giannis is playing the center and Lopez is out of the game. I think Giannis is going to have to guard other guys and just switch on to Trae Young whenever that happens. So for me, defensively, obviously it's containing Trae Young. And the Bucks really were just willing to give him that floater, which I think is a huge mistake because it also leads to those alley-oop opportunities for Capella. So keep Trae Young out of the paint, make things difficult on him. We're going to have to play a lot of lineups with Giannis at the center if Lopez can't stay in the game, which we're going to find out early on in game 2 how the Bucks adjust with Brook Lopez. And if he's getting cooked right away, got to take him out and figure something else out. So that's a big, big thing for Milwaukee to figure out is how to win Brook Lopez's minutes because we're going to need him in this series. So we just don't have the depth right now. With Dante out, we just don't have a lot of playable guys, playable switching players. So for me, we got to figure out Brook Lopez, and it's a big, big problem for the Bucks. We're going to find it out early on in this game. But either way, with Brook Lopez, we still need to play a lot of lineups with Giannis at the center. That's when we saw the Bucks' most success defensively is when Giannis was playing center and we were switching 1 through 5. It did us really well in the fourth quarter, but it was just too little too late, in my opinion. Bucks, again, in their late game execution didn't help the fact they still should have won that game. But again, those are some adjustments we need to see from Milwaukee going forward. And another thing too defensively is just can't let the other guys kill you. And obviously they didn't. John Collins had a really nice game, 23 points, 37 minutes for John Collins, 11 for 16 from the field, hit one of his 5 3-pointers, which is a huge one down the stretch when Bucks gave up 2 or 3 offensive rebounds, 15 boards for Collins, 1 assist. I mean, he had a great game. I mean, he was active on the rebounding game and was able to score points at will, shot super well from the field. 11 for 16 is fantastic. Obviously, he was great, but other than that, they didn't get much production offensively. Bogdanovich, 4 points in 27 minutes. He was a game time decision both in game 7 against the 76ers and game 1 against the Bucks with knee issues. And obviously we can see that impacting him on the floor. He cannot move laterally defensively at all. We've got to attack Bogdanovich a lot more in the rest of the series because it's similar to James Harden in the Nets series. series. He just cannot move laterally defensively, and you can clearly see it out there. So when Bogdanovich is out there, we've got to attack him and go at him when he's defending anyone on the Bucks, and just get him on the ball. So that's another adjustment I'd like to see the Bucks make. But other than that, Huerter 13 points, Capella 12, Gallinari 9, Lou Williams 3 only, Solomon Hill 4, Bogdanovich with 4. I mean, the other guys didn't go off. And again, they didn't really shoot well either, especially from 3, 25%, 8 for 32. That's not great at all. So I expect the Hawks to shoot better from 3 as well. So obviously, if they do that, then the Bucks have got to figure something out and be able to score more points to be able to win this series. But again, got to attack Bogdanovich defensively, and defensively, we've got a lot of adjustments to make. Let's talk about the rebounding game a little bit. So the Bucks get out rebounded in game 1, 51-45 against a Hawks team that has a lot less size than this Milwaukee Bucks team, which is a huge concern. And a big reason for that is because Brook Lopez only played 20 minutes in this game. When he was out of the floor, specifically, he didn't play at all. I don't think he played the whole fourth quarter and half of the third quarter. Pretty much when he came out from the starting lineup in the third quarter, he didn't play the rest of the game because the Bucks were just getting cooked defensively. Obviously, the Hawks just came out swinging in the third quarter, win that quarter by 8. Bucks are up 5 points at the end of the half and end up being down 3 points at the end of the third. 34 points for the Hawks to 26 for Milwaukee in the third quarter. I mean, the Hawks got a nice lead. It was an 8-point lead at one point in time, and it really looked scary for the Bucks. I didn't know if they were going to be able to come back. Obviously, they did, but couldn't pull out the win. But regardless, Atlanta really got going in the third quarter offensively. And a lot of it was earlier on in that third quarter when Brook Lopez was in the game, and now they were able to obviously play better when Giannis was in the center and being able to switch 1 through 5, specifically in the fourth quarter. But again, Hawks really got going scoring wise, specifically in that second half, and the Bucks just had a hard time getting points up. But back to the rebounding game. When Brook Lopez was out in that fourth quarter, the Bucks got out rebounded probably by a lot. I'm not sure what the final numbers were in the fourth quarter, but Bucks gave up a bunch of offensive rebounds late in that game that really cost us that game. There were multiple possessions where the Bucks get a stop and the Hawks pick up 1 offensive rebound, 2 offensive rebounds. 1 led to that corner 3 by John Collins. I mean, those are just crucial plays that the Bucks are usually able to pick up those rebounds when Lopez is in the game. But when he's not, guys got to box out and be aggressive on the glass and get those rebounds. Obviously, Giannis is a big presence and is able to pick up a lot of boards. But Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton, if he's in the game, PJ Tucker, got to be active on the glass and pick up those rebounds. Again, this is really where we miss Dante DiVincenzo. He is so good at rebounding the basketball from the guard position, and he would just be crucial in the series, in my opinion. So again, Bucks giving up a lot of rebounds, specifically on the offensive end late in that game, was a big reason they lost game 1 in Milwaukee at home. So that's another thing for me, is if Brook Lopez isn't playing a lot in this series, the Bucks just have to be active on the rebounds and pick these rebounds up and don't give second chance opportunities. I said that in my tweet video and my Instagram story. One of the keys to winning the game was limit the Hawks' second chance opportunities, be active on the glass, pick up rebounds. And I didn't think it would be that much of a factor, but it really was. So the Bucks really they got to be better. Got to rebound the ball better, and I expect them to do that going forward. Let's talk about the rotations a little bit. Obviously, starters still getting some pretty good minutes. Giannis 41, Chris 41, Jrue 42. I'd still like them to be maybe a minute or 2 more. I just think that they should be playing a majority of these games. We need to win these games. We can't take the Hawks lightly. Obviously, we took them a little light in this game. I think that a lot of people thought that the Bucks maybe would come out and be a little disappointing, have a little bit of a letdown game in game 1 after just a really intense 7-game series against the Nets, where every game was just a battle. So clearly a letdown game kind of maybe made sense for the Bucks, but it's no excuse at all. I think the Bucks it honestly felt like a regular season game at times. The Bucks just didn't have the energy. The crowd was a little disappointing as well. Didn't think they were loud enough at times. I was at the game, and just it took a while for them to even like fill up the seats. It felt like pretty much right at the end of the first half that like finally everyone was in their seats, and obviously like in the start of the third quarter, even like a lot of the crowd goes away to get beer and all that stuff, and it's just like this crowd's gotta make an impact on this game, and I think it was a little disappointing. But anyways, the Bucks obviously had a letdown game after that big Game 7 series against the Nets, and that's just unacceptable. And they've got to play better, got to play hard, and outplay this Hawks team because they're hot, they're hungry, they're comfortable now. They won Game 1 in Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. 3 more wins until they would get to the NBA Finals. I mean, they got to be feeling good about themselves. One of the reasons why I wanted to play the Hawks is because of the Bucks getting home court advantage. Well, that's fucking gone now. Blowing Game 1 to the Atlanta Hawks. It's not ideal at all. The Bucks got to win Game 2, or they're really doomed in this series. So a lot of pressures on the Bucks now to get it done. But let's get back to the rotations a little bit. Sorry for the tangent there. Like to see a few more minutes for the big three. Obviously, they played so many minutes in that Game 7, but still they had multiple days off. So I think that Bud should have played them a little bit more. PJ Tucker, 35 minutes, totally good with that. That's a good sweet spot for him. He's an older guy, I think the 35 minutes is totally fine for Tucker. Obviously, we mentioned Brook Lopez. His minutes are going to vary on how he impacts the game defensively. So that's a big key for Game 2. Then let's look at the bench. Pat Connaughton, 29 minutes. I'm fine with it. I'd like maybe a little less. 25 would be a little bit better for Pat. But I'm fine with Pat. He's got to get these minutes. He's just got to step up. He's got to play better. He's got to shoot the ball better. And I think he's going to do that. So not really many worries for me for Pat. Bobby Portis, 15 minutes. I think that's pretty good for him. Obviously, again, defensively for Bobby, they were playing that drop coverage defense with him as well. And it just makes no sense to me. I don't know why Bud drops with Bobby Portis. Like, he can switch. He's athletic enough where he can switch onto other guys. I just don't get it. If Bobby Portis has to drop when he's in the game, he's almost unplayable because, again, they're just going to do that same thing that they're doing on Brook Lopez. They're just going to Trae Young's going to get to the paint and either put up a floater or alley-oop it to Capella if Bobby Portis decides to step up in the paint, which he usually won't. So, again, I want Bobby Portis to play in the series. I think he can make an impact, but he's got to be switchable on defense, and Coach Bud's got to make that change. So for me, that's really what it depends on for Bobby Portis's minutes is if they switch him on defense, he needs to play 15, 20 minutes a game. But if they don't, which would be absolutely idiotic, then he's going to be almost unplayable. So, for me, that's just a big thing with Bobby Portis. I think they're going to figure it out and switch him a little bit more, especially if Brook can't play. I mean, they've got to have some bigger bodies play in this game. So they've got to figure out a way for Bobby Portis, and it's switching him on D. So that's also a big key for me in Game 2 is what are they going to do with Bobby Portis? How are they going to use him defensively? If they drop, it's an absolutely fucking joke by Bud. So please don't make that mistake. Bryn Forbes, 12 minutes for him. That's fine. 10 to 15 minutes is good for me for Forbes. He just has not made much of an impact since that Heat series when he was so freaking good shooting the ball. I mean, it's just a disappointment. We could really use Forbes' three-point shooting. He's not shooting a high volume of shots. I mean, again, 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3 for Bryn. I'd like to see him shoot more shots and just try to get him involved a little bit more. But, he's probably going to be right around 10 to 15 minutes a game, and I'm okay with that. Let's touch on Jeff Teague a little bit. Can't even say his name right. Jeff Teague, shocked that he played in this game, first off. 6 minutes for Jeff Teague. 0 for 1 from the field. 1 assist, 0 points. He got cooked on defense. He was guarding Trae Young when Drew Holiday was in the game. What the fuck is that? Like, what are we doing? Like, Drew Holiday needs to be on Trae Young at all times when he's in the game. Why is Jeff Teague guarding him? He got cooked by Trae Young, and we really struggled in those minutes when Jeff Teague was in the game. He should not be playing a single second in the series. I'm done with Jeff Teague. He doesn't make an impact at all on the floor. Just get him out of here. We don't need him. He stinks. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, don't play Jeff Teague anymore. I just don't get it. Like, sure, we had a grueling series against the Nets. Maybe you try Teague a minute in game one, see what he does. He stunk right away. Get him out. 6 minutes was way too long. I don't want to see Jeff Teague on the floor the rest of the series. Someone I would actually like to see is Thanasis Antetokounmpo. I think he could actually play a role in this series. We need switchable defenders, especially if Brook Lopez is going to be played off the floor defensively. So I think Thanasis should actually get minutes anywhere, like even like closer to 10 minutes a game. His energy on the defensive end really could have been used in game one when the Bucks just lacked energy throughout the whole entire game. Like I said, it just felt like a regular season game. No sense of urgency from the Bucks on both sides of the ball until late in the game when it was just too late. And they just weren't executing. So for me, Thanasis really needs to play in this series. I think it would make an impact for this team, specifically defensively. You could put him on Trae Young at times, and he's going to make it hard on him. So I really want to see Thanasis get some minutes, and right around 10 minutes a game, I think would be great. He could even play a little bit more. It's crazy to say. I haven't been the biggest Thanasis fan all year, but in this kind of a series where we need switchable defenders and just some energy, a spark, I think Thanasis should play a role in the series. So that's going to be interesting to see if Coach Bud pulls that trigger in game two. So for me, rotation wise, that's what I've got. And as far as the review of the game one against the Hawks, that's what I've got for you guys today. I mentioned a lot of the key adjustments I'd like to see for the Bucks going forward is playing more lineups with Giannis at the center, and just how are we going to manage Brook Lopez? How are we going to win his minutes? Again, having him guard John Collins and Giannis guard Clint Capella, I think that makes the most sense. So that's something else I'd like to see. Also, Bucks attack the ball or attack the paint on offense. That's where we dominate. The Hawks cannot guard this team in the paint. Get to the paint and kick it out to open shooters, and hopefully we can knock down shots at a more efficient rate in this game. Got to rebound better, especially if Brook Lopez is out of the game. We just got to be more aggressive, box guys out, and just pick up some rebounds. Don't give up second chance opportunities for the Hawks because it killed us in game one, and big reason why we lost. So got to be more aggressive on the glass in game two and going forward. And also just make things more difficult on Trae Young. Force him to shoot 3-pointers rather than getting in the paint. Those are the big adjustments that I need to see in this game. And other than that, that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And the Bucks have I think is a must-win game in game two. They can't go down 0-2 going to Atlanta for games 3 and 4. I don't know if we'd be able to overcome that. So must win for Bucks in game two after a huge disappointment. They really should have won this game, and they really didn't even play that well. So I think the Bucks are going to take game two. I'm going to go Bucks 118, Hawks 109. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks again for watching, and go Bucks.